in 1990 retired in 2025 and was part of the policy making initiative. Policy making अपने लिए सबके लिए बहुत relevant है और वो कई बार हम लोग मिस कर जाते हैं. तो वो सारी चीजें कई बार ना हम लोग बॉटम ऑफ व्यू देख रहे हैं, ये टॉप डाउन व्यू मिलेगा. तो मेक श्योर दैट वी आर first understanding what he has to say. What does financial stability mean for RBI? How are they looking at things from their top-down approach and try and understand क्योंकि RBI कुछ बोलता है तो क्या मेरे बिजनेस में क्या इम्पैक्ट आएगा, वो ट्रांसलेशन हम लोग करने की कोशिश करेंगे. And if you have any feedback, anything which makes which you are struggling with, they are very happy to seek feedback. Feedback generic रखिए, feedback बहुत specific मत कीजिए कि मुझे वो बैंकर ने लोन नहीं दिया, जरा एलिजिबिलिटी 12 लाख था उसने 10 लाख ही दिया, या वो ऐसा हो रहा है वैसा हो रहा है, वो अपन डिस्कस नहीं कर पाएंगे यहाँ पे. लेकिन anything which is a pain point, which is a generic pain point, I believe that he will be happy to seek that feedback. We have Anujit Mitra who is going to speak to us today. I have told him, sir, jargon में तो speech हमारे लोगों को समझेगा नहीं, क्योंकि क्या है, he comes from a very statistical, he has a master's in statistics, तो statistical background में तो बहुत चीजें समझ नहीं आती, तो अपने को, उनको नहीं. तो bachelor's in mathematics है, तो maths, stats तो बड़ा डिफिकल्ट हो जाता है कि हम लोग, लेकिन फाइनली अभी थोड़ा बिजी है आप कर लीजिए ना. Notable research contributions in diverse areas covering corporate sector statistics, risk management, information technology. Yes, आप जाके पढ़ सकते हैं RBI की वेबसाइट पे. lot of articles have been written by him. So lot of research orientation है सर का. And as I said, he was a member of the expert group on comprehensive updation of CPI, Consumer Price Index, and जो इस साल अभी implement हुआ है. And apart from that, most importantly, statistics department का core पूरा निचोड़ वो समझते हैं. तो हम सबका feedback will be very important for maybe 5 साल में हम लोग देख पाएंगे कि RBI के इनिशिएटिव्स में, क्योंकि इनको ना बड़े बड़े लोग दिखते हैं, छोटे छोटे लोग दिखते नहीं, ऐसा मेरा कंप्लेंट है उनको. तो हम चाहेंगे कि दिस इज अ स्टार्ट ऑफ एन इंटरैक्टिव प्रोसेस जहाँ पे अनुजित मित्रा सर विल गाइड अस एज टू फाइनेंशियल स्टेबिलिटी एंड रिस्क मेजरमेंट्स. सर प्लीज आइए, वेलकम. खड़े रह की बात करें.
हाँ चलेगा. दिस इज टू, इसमें स्लाइड चेंज होगा ना.
यस.
For inviting me and giving this opportunity, Professor Paturkar invited me, and then Danisap is here. He's the moderator and said very nice words about me. But from my side, this is a great opportunity because in my job profile, I have mostly interacted with bankers, financial experts, analysts, academicians. But to the entrepreneurs, my interaction was rather limited. Now, having said that, my expertise also is on the corporate finance side. So my papers were actually dealing with the company finances and the balance sheet analysis, the cash flow statement, linking it, and then linking it to the policies. So that was one of the major areas where I was interested in. I continue to keep interest in that. Now, coming back to today's topic, financial stability and risk measures. So how these two are there. So when we talk about financial stability, I think you have got some idea about financial stability, what it is, because it is about the stability of the financial system. before coming to the formal definition, another side is the risk measures that I have included as the part of the topic. You may feel that what is the link between the two? Because financial stability remains more or less a macro kind of a concept. Macro means it involves the entire economy or the ecosystem, whereas risk measures, it is more of a micro, because all of you, when you are doing a business, you are facing some sort of risks. Now, what are the risks? Anywhere you go, you will get a long list. There are so many risks. Out of that, there will be a sizable number of risks are actually financial risks. Now, we'll come to that also. But then, is it only the entities or the micro where these risks are applicable, or it is at the country level also? I'll say it is at the country level also. So, financial risk, when you talk about, immediately the risks that come into our mind is the liquidity risk, credit risk, market risk, this kind of risks. We'll touch upon each of them. But then at the country level also, these kind of risks play out, and then the financial stability comes into play. And as Danisha was telling, it is if the financial stability is strong for a country, then the smaller entities, the players, they have got a robust playground to play. So his analogy is very apt. If it rains, matches get wiped out, you do not know what to do. But if it is a more or less a condition where the play can go on, the pitch matters. So that's what was his point. So this is the, formally, if we look at the financial stability definition, then it is defined as the condition in which the financial system operates effectively, allowing financial institutions and markets to provide essential services to households and businesses, even during economic stress. So it involves the ability to absorb if there are certain kind of disturbances. It could be extraneous disturbances, it could be a Trump tariff, or it could be a threat to geopolitical stability, like the Armada moving towards Iran, and any point of time there can be an attack. What will be the fallout? There could be the oil prices can shoot up, and many businesses, they are directly having this as an input, or even indirectly also all of us, every citizen of the country will be impacted by this. Similarly, there could be direct exposures, because some of you are probably exporting things outside. Now, if there is geopolitical problem, your exports may get hampered, the orders, or you are importing things, the prices may shoot up. So these are the kind of shocks that come. But a resilient system should be able to absorb those shocks and make the whatever repricing is required, that can be done in a smooth manner. That is what is all about the financial stability. Now, in finance, risk refers to the potential loss due to uncertainty. The risks I commonly talked about, I have already told, is the market risk, credit risk, liquidity risk, operational risk, and more. Now, to understand the financial stability issues, I'll take the example of two crises. Now, there are several crises that has been seen by us, we know about it. But the mother of all crash was the 1929. Why was it? Because it generated a huge problem in the global economy, unlike anything seen before. In 1929, the reason for the this thing, where it was triggered, was the stock market decline. And then there was approximately 50% loss. And in 2007-8, that was another thing. And it was a housing market bubble, because there are continuously money getting into the housing debt, mortgages. So there were actually a system of top-up loan. So when the prices were going up, the financiers, the banks, they were able to give, they were telling the whoever is the owner, household owners, house owners, that you can top up your loan. What you are going to use it for, normally housing loan is given to build houses. But here house is already built, but since the price has gone up, the bank is ready to give you more and more loan. When more loan is coming into the market, naturally the prices were spiraling up. So it was a kind of a bubble that was forming, because prices were going up, more money was getting in, and this way it was a cycle feeding into each other. And then how the bankers were doing it, because they were financing it with mortgages, and these mortgages were easily, it was actually create and then they were selling it off. And with even low credit mortgages, they were clubbing together, and from that they were making out high rated papers, and those papers were being again sold. At the end of the day, people were not knowing, they were thinking I am holding a AAA bond. A AAA bond very rarely fails, or a AA bond, but actually the underlying was not a AAA. It was a huge amount of junk bonds, and on those junk bonds, the top part was taken, stripped out, and AAA bonds were created. It's like a alchemy kind of a thing. So when the music stopped, then those AAA bonds, which are not supposed to fail, everything got lost. Huge amount of default take place, and those papers were actually worth the paper only. Money was totally lost. So the economic loss was 30 billion estimated in 29. It was in the current prices, and the 2007-8 it was 10 billion, 10 trillion. So which one do you think was more devastating, 2007-8 or 29? 29? Why is 29?
Because considering time frame.
No, I said that this 30 billion is current prices. So we have adjusted for the price level also. It is 30 billion, and that is 10 trillion. The loss was much more in 7-8 than in 29. But then still, why I said it is mother of all crises. And you will still see 29, none of us were there. But 7-8, many of us were there. We have our memories. We have not seen that kind of a devastation in the social circle. And this much was lost. So, but 29, everybody hears the story. The 29 was something great. I mean, it was totally devastating. Followed up with a world war, Second World War. Entire famines were there in many countries. India suffered a huge famine. Now, all these things happened in this is a consequence of 29 crisis. In 7-8, it didn't happen. Though the loss, financial loss, was many times. Unemployment rate, you see, it was peaked at about 25% in case of, in 33. Now, I'll tell you, in 29 what happened, it started with the stock prices, where in 21, the Dow Jones index, that was at the level of around 61. September 29, it became sixfold. In few years, 6 times it became, like Nifty becoming 6 times. So that much money went into the stock market. Why was it? Because they said that it's a new frontier. The automobile industry came, electricity was coming, people were able to see, they said that it's a new horizon, new world. So therefore this is justified, because you are entering into a new phase, the old pattern doesn't work. Like the AI, I'll say. We do not know what is going to happen to AI, but it's a new frontier. Everybody is saying it's a new frontier. So the rules are broken. So therefore the high valuations can be justified. So these justifications were also there. And with all that, the money was getting into stock market, and it went on 6 times. Then what happened on 28th and 29th? Actually the sale started in October 26th. and then October 28, 29, Black Monday and Black Tuesday, market fell by 13% and 12% and then 13%. Widespread panic, and there was a complete sell-off started, and it continued for till 33. So in 34, in 33, in fact in 1931, the stock price Dow Jones came down to 31. So it went up to 389 to 31 and started from 61 at 21. So from there it went back, and it took 25 years to go back to that level where it was in September 29. So if somebody has entered the market at that point of time, they had to wait for 25 years to get back that same money. So the recovery time was this much. Now let's look at the bank failures. 9,000 banks failed in 29, and 2007-8 there was approximately 500 banks failed. So not many banks. So how was the government response? There was a government apathy, they say. In 29, government didn't do no intervention, no major intervention. In case of 2007-8, there was a major bailout. All central banks came together, they started pumping money, and there were continuous bailouts. Lehman Brothers was allowed to fail, but then subsequently Citi and all, they all got into trouble, but they were supported by central banks. So ultimately, there was a support of 800 billion was put by the central banks. How the money was put, it is, you cannot just print the money and put it into the economy. How it is done, that will also come. And the social impact is what I will request you to look at. The social impact was severe poverty, homelessness, and social unrest. This is the Great Depression, they call. So this has went into the depression of the economies. And in case of 2007-8, that this kind of social hardships were largely avoided. I'll also talk about the 2020, what happened, COVID. So in 2007-8, it just took around 4 years' time for the stock market to regain the same level. So in earlier case it was 25 years, 7-8 it was 4 years. COVID, huge crash, huge fallout, so many deaths. I think maybe all of us, I have seen people in my family, all of a sudden they vanished because you are not allowed to see the dead body also. So tremendous kind of a disaster, and then complete shutdown of the economic activity, huge amount of loss, huge amount of disturbance. You know what happened is the recovery, it took just 4 months. 2020, the stock market recovered the same level in 4 months' time. Now, why was this, and why I am talking about all these things? It is actually the financial stability understanding and the ability of the central banks and the central bank as well as the policy makers, how to deal with the crisis. So 2020, actually we are lucky to have a much robust banking. So bank failures were minimal globally. Globally the banks were in a much better shape. 7-8, banks were much better shape than what was there in 29. And India, we have avoided this thing. The 7-8 fallout directly was not there. Why? It was, I will say that it is one person, Dr. Y.V. Reddy, who was the governor of Reserve Bank of India. He actually saw that the housing bubble is getting formed. So what was his response? What he did, he started to play with two things. One is the LTV ratio. LTV ratio is the loan to value. Many of in the businesses also you must be seeing this, that what is the value of your assets and how much of it can be given as a loan. The collateral's value, how much can be provided as loan. So LTV. He played with the LTV, he reduced the LTV ratio. So the collateral quality has actually become stronger. The other side was on the bank's book, there is something called a provisioning. He increased the provisioning ratio also. So when bank is giving a loan of 100 rupees, they have to provide for a default risk. These provisions are made. So some provision ratio is always maintained. The housing loan provisioning ratio was increased. Now these two factors, and there is one more thing, of course. He steadfastly refused all these innovations that are taking place. I talked about all junk bonds, they can club together and make, out of that they can make a AAA bond by modeling. So through the statistical model, it can be justified that those AAA bonds will actually have very low chance of a default. So therefore they are termed as a AAA. So, but those innovations are not very clear. The models are actually a black box. The JP Morgan and all those people, they were making those models, they were not very understood by the investors. So in India, RBI clearly said, if we do not understand, if we are not able to, if we are not comfortable, then we are not going to allow it. And they were hugely criticized. Y.V. Reddy was told, it was told that he is very, I mean, maybe backward looking, he's not allowing the innovations to be come in the economy, because the innovations only make you move forward. He simply steadfastly said that I am not going to allow if I do not understand this. So therefore this kind of creation of the bonds and those kind of things, derivatives, there is a strict no-no. And then the other thing is told was that bankers and financial institutes, he told that you cannot sell products to the investors mis-selling. If the investor, you have to judge, the investor is also having the ability to understand what he is purchasing. So you cannot take a retired person and sell him continuously term loans for his life. That is, if there are no dependent on somebody, why you want to sell him the term loans or not the term loans, term insurance, many kind of insurances. At that stage of life, people may not require insurance, and he goes for something, goes for a fixed deposit, and you try to push him into insurance. Even today also mis-selling is one thing that RBI is trying to again and again prevent. So all those things were done during that period, and that's why direct fallout of 7-8 what happened, that bubble when it busted, India was relatively insulated from this. It didn't impact India. Of course, the second tier impact when the economies fell down, the US and European this thing, so our exports etc. got hampered, and the fallout came subsequently in 11, 12 or near about that time. There was a stock market crash in our country also, but not to that extent. So the point is actually the response to all this, the crisis, were due to evolving financial stability concepts. So now let's take a step back. So I'll tell you the this side of the thing, the risk management. There is a corporate governance and regulation. These are the risk management side. These are the two things, the corporate governance side and the regulations. These are the two tools. Then economic resilience, how they are built is and why they are built is to response to the global shocks, so that the global shocks can be absorbed in the system. So that is the economic resilience. You build the economic resilience. And the third concept is the sustainable growth, balancing industry expansion with financial prudence. Now, as Dani sir was also telling, that if you put more and more loans, everybody will have complaints that bankers are not opening their purse strings so easily. They are not giving me enough loans. If they give me loans, I can multiply my size of business very quickly. But it says that it should be, there should be a balancing. It's not that the loan should not be given. In fact, continuously our governor is telling the credit growth is actually much lower than what he wants. Now the country requires to grow faster, so credit growth has to go up. At the same time, the financial prudence is extremely important. Otherwise it will not remain a sustainable growth. As you know that there are some concepts like business cycles. Typically the business cycle takes a period of 7 years to 15 years. And there is a financial cycle also. Now, whatever goes up will go down. In stock market and everywhere it happens. This is the nature of the capital market. So, capitalist economy, I'll say. So, in capitalist economy, why this is allowed to be done is because there are certain kind of technology that is there in today. Tomorrow there will be newer technology. So the products that are the way they are built now, tomorrow there will be another technology, faster, more efficient ways of producing the same at a lower cost. But what happens to the already, whatever has been I have set up a factory, it is producing in certain way. Another fellow comes, he comes with a new technology, a new way of doing things. He is able to produce at a cheaper rate. Then my product will not sell because my technology has fallen behind. So this kind of breaking of the business. Now this business has to go out or it has to innovate, it has to take some kind of a loss and it has to innovate to survive. Otherwise it has to simply fail. A new kind of business will come and replace it. This is a capitalist kind of framework that which we are all in. And with this kind of thing, time to time, this creative destruction takes place in the economy. Without that, actually the economy cannot go. Otherwise, we will remain in the same place. We will not be able to grow faster. So this is natural and we all have to prepare for it. Important thing is that should not lead into a problem for all other businesses also. So when this creative destruction is taking place in one part of the economy or the industry, it should not damage the other things. The normal rule book should continue. And they should be gracefully able to liquidate their thing and move into a newer kind of thing. So that is what is sustainable development, sustainable expansion. So what are the major indicators of and threats to stability? So inflation control. So that is first and foremost. So RBI's inflation targeting framework is there from 1916. After Raghuram Rajan came, this inflation targeting framework that was there. So we have set a, okay, I am falling much behind so I'll become faster now. So what he did is he has given a 4% plus minus 2. So the inflation is supposed to be maintained between 2% to 6%. If it goes beyond that, consecutively for few quarters, RBI has to write a letter to Government of India and to the Parliament it has to explain that why it has failed to follow that, keep the inflation within that bandwidth. So that is the inflation control. And threat is of course inflation going out of hand. Then banking sector health, NPAs and recapitalization efforts are the indicators. NPA, if it is at a lower level, then the bank health is good, the bank will not fail. Incidentally, in India, we rarely see banks fail, but banks do fail. Cooperative banks, we have seen failing, and we have seen quite a large bank like PMC failed. And then we have Yes Bank, there was a difficulty, but then it was rescued, but with a cost to the investors also and to the system as such. But not compared to America, US and all. US, there are good number of banks and banks fell. Now in January 26, there is a latest, already one bank has failed. It was quite a big bank actually, sort of, more than 200 billion. Then we have seen other banks also fail. Anyway, so then the government sector, political instability, deficits, high fiscal deficit, this creates a problem because your country becomes weak. And then this is a threat to the financial stability. Why? Because the international agencies, they rate us. What is the strength of our economy? And they will put our rating down. So from BB, काफी मुश्किल से BB minus से BB आया, तो it can go to C and it will become a junk. So then every corporate, even for ECB and all, everybody has to pay much more interest to borrow in foreign currency. So those kind of problems are there. So it will be disruptive for the business. Then there are other threats also. The government's high fiscal deficit can lead into inflation again. So corporate sector profitability, debt serviceability, and leverage. Leverage is a taboo word for us, because even banks or the businesses, if they're highly leveraged, and also in stock market, the people who invest, if they are leveraged, when the market turns, we all know what happens, because you have to sell everything to service that, and then you have to book huge loss. It's out of your hand then. So leverage is a very difficult thing for financial stability. Then household savings, if it is a higher rate, traditionally it is high in India, and then it gives a cushion for the government. It helps the financial system stability. So who looks after the financial stability? It is given as the primary responsibility of Reserve Bank of India. But then Government of India also plays a very important role. And then on the other side, the capital market side, it is SEBI. Then IRDAI is looking after the insurance side. And there are international bodies like IMF is there, BIS is there. FSB is the Financial Stability Board. It's a board created already for specifically look at financial stability. Because in the integrated world, the financial stability is not limited to one country. It is a global thing. So between countries also it has to see, and the countries that are more stable, as I told you, the rating etc. has to come accordingly. If a country is not stable, like we were discussing about Venezuela or Zimbabwe, where the inflation rate went up to 1,000. Now if it becomes 1,000, means your product which you are paying, suppose a loaf, a bread, 1 rupee today, 1 year hence it will become 1,000 rupees. So actually it is the, your value of your money is actually the reciprocal of that. So therefore the money value goes totally lost. So it is typically said that people, when they receive cash, they were actually taking a flight to go to another place, because if they have to send the money or do something, it will take more time. The value will go down further. Actually it was saving the money if they travel by aeroplane and spend the money here. It was such kind of a situation. The business decision goes totally wrong when that kind of it's called hyperinflation. Hyperinflation is something which we have not seen in India, and I hope we never see it, because it erodes the wealth of everybody, and the business goes terribly shocked because of the high inflation. So price stability is the measure of the price movement. So important indices is the consumer price index, then WPI. Incidentally, CPI, our base was 2012. So far the base that was there, that is now revised to 2024. And this February 12th, every month, the 12th of the month, this CPI series is released, the new inflation number comes, it's a monthly series. And from February 12th, this month, the new series has started. And WPI is also going to be released shortly. Along with WPI, another major thing is going to happen, that is the PPIs will be, the Producer's Price Index. That will be relevant for all of you, because it talks about the PPI. There are two PPIs. One is the PPI for input and PPI for output. So how is the products that are produced in the economy, how the inputs are actually, inflation is there, and how is the output inflation is there. So both the things will be published. WPI will go out, because WPI is a wholesaler's price index, so is neither input, neither output. It's not a purchasing price index also. GDP series will be new GDP series with 22-23 will be released in February 27th, this month. So again, that is base is now revised to 22-23. There are all other many series, all will be now updated with this. So that was a major work done, and it will measure the economy and prices in a much better way. That is the idea. Because earlier the CPI basket, 12 basket was having like cassettes, then those kind of cassette players. And in the new series they have included even CDs etc. Nobody now uses CDs. In the new series, actually the new products that have come in, including the OTT, in services, there are so many services. OTT, etc. are now included, YouTube, Netflix, because that has come into the consumer's basket. So the basket has been made current in the new CPI, so they will be the much more relevant kind of a index. So let me run through the rest of the thing. So it is important to have a steady and low level of inflation. It is very important for the businessman in particular that the inflation remains predictable, it remains low. You can say that why inflation should not be zero. Inflation, if it is zero, then there is economic consequence, because the debt, or if it goes into deflation, that's a nightmare for the central banker. If it becomes your goods that you are purchasing today, if you think that tomorrow the prices will be going down, you are very confident, what you are going to do? You will not purchase anything. You will postpone your purchasing decision. So what will happen is the products will stop selling. So therefore deflation or a negative inflation is actually, it is totally no. So that shows a very bad kind of thing. The growth will again go down like anything. So a moderate but there should be a very small inflation. If it is a high inflation, then your product prices go up. Again, the same problem. You do not know what is your input price going to be and what will be your output price. Now, here there are actually some role of monetary policy. I will not get into directly now. If there are questions, I will talk about that. Okay. So, GDP I have already talked about. Then there are IIP and employment PLFS, the periodic labor force survey. This is being done. I'll just quickly let me run through. Then Naukas and use of AI in real-time updates. These are actually being adopted now, because now government, what they're doing, the Ministry of Statistics, what they're doing, they're using the AI also to understand say for example GDP. Now they can, from the satellite pictures, they can know that what kind of this agricultural farming is being done and what will be the output also. So to predict also that what will be whether wheat, there will be abundance, because they can measure the soil moisture level and and also how much is being sowed. Then accordingly, at the time of harvest also, because there is a difference between sowing and harvesting. There could be some flood or some untoward weather condition where this thing, or even infestation of some kind of pest. But all those things can be tracked from satellite pictures now very well. So using AI and real-time updates are possible, and they are doing it now. So these are some of the measures. I have roughly talked about them, but one thing I'll just mention, one thing, that's the last thing, the contagion. Contagion is another very important term which came. So contagion is that in one bank the problem starts and then it starts spreading in other banks, because this bank fails on its obligation on another bank, and this bank's balance sheet comes under pressure. And all this actually the problem always starts with the liquidity, be it for business or be it for the bank level financial sector. First there will be liquidity shortage, because you do not have enough cash to pay whoever is to be paid. And what goes out, that this fellow is running short of cash, then nobody will be ready to lend you. Now if people are not lending you and you are not able to, then what you have to do? You have to liquidate either your inventory. First it will be finished good inventory at a loss or a huge discount, and then there will be your even input inventories, whatever you have got, you have to sell them and then you have to repay your obligations. So it's a totally loss proposition, and eventually it turns out into a credit risk, because it starts with liquidity but then it becomes your solvency risk, and that's where the entities fail. And in this position the central bank actually intervenes. In India, why the banks do not fail is preemptively RBI tries to see that if there is a liquidity, there is a sort of a bank run. Even in, there were, I can tell because it happened many years back, one branch of ICICI Bank, there was a run, sort of. Depositors were queuing up. As soon as this news came to us in RBI, then we started looking into the reason and then also the balance sheet of bank. We found that the ICICI Bank is as such, it is in a good position. Its balance sheet is not that bad. So immediately Reserve Bank started sending money directly to the that particular branch and that area. And once this news comes out, the neighboring branch also there will be a run. So you push money into all those places. And once the people see that whenever they are standing, they are getting back the money, they will come back and put the money again back. They say that it's a wrong this thing. Why should I liquidate my FD now? I should not.
The faith comes back.
The money, faith comes back, and that kind of bank run can be avoided. So, but to do that, the central bank needs to be sure that it's actually a solvent bank. Only a solvent bank, if it is facing a liquidity problem, that can be saved. Same thing happens with the business also. If your business is having a good balance sheet, then definitely one or the other lender will come and they will rescue out you in case there is a liquidity problem. But contagion is actually similar thing. That sentiment today ICICI Bank, then people will think अरे ICICI Bank or HDFC Bank भी तो वैसे ही है. So if there is a problem in ICICI Bank, that goes into HDFC Bank. Like type of the cooperative banks. One cooperative bank is having trouble, that goes into another cooperative bank. So it is important to look at it and how to arrest those kind of a problem. That's a financial stability. Then it becomes a financial stability issue. So I'll not get into this. It is there in the presentations that how the Reserve Bank is actually measuring that what is the position, how much strong is our financial system. So there is a banking stability index. As you can see, it is not that it is always going up and up. ऐसा नहीं है. It has gone down, but still it is in a very good position. NBFCs also, sometimes back it was going down, but now it is recovering also. And then there are different parameters. Based on that, we do all this analysis in detail. So financial stability, there is a specific department in RBI which continuously monitors this and the condition of the economy. So I'll simply, these are listed. I'll not spend much time because I want to leave for some discussion, and I love to have discussions. So I think I'll finish it here, and I'll open up for question and Mr. Daniji.
Fine. Thank you, sir. Thank you. It was a macroeconomics class, and I hope you are trying to understand RBI क्या बोलता है और RBI क्या हो रहा है और अपने बिजनेस को कैसे इम्पैक्ट हो रहा है, ये थोड़ा बहुत आप समझ. अपनी सबकी बैलेंस शीट बनती है. RBI देश का बैलेंस शीट बना रहा है, तो सोचिए कितना कॉम्प्लेक्स होगा. अपनी एक बैलेंस शीट मैनेज करना डिफिकल्ट है, उसमें रिकवरी करना, ये करना, वो करना. यहाँ तो इनडायरेक्ट डेटा के बेसिस पे बैलेंस शीट बनाई जा रही है. तो इट्स अ फिनोमिनली गुड. मतलब 2008-9 का क्राइसिस, those who were not there will not know कि कितना बड़ा था ग्लोबली, और हम लोग खरोच रख के निकल गए, ऐसा टाइप हुआ अपना. And Y.V. Reddy is the person who was attributed all the credit. I remember, he will not say it, but I will say it. P. Chidambaram was the finance minister then, and he had said in 2007 कि ये हमारा गवर्नर ना पिछड़ा है, ये काम नहीं करने दे रहा है, ग्रोथ नहीं होने दे रहा है, because they were not allowing all the exotic products, derivatives and all. तो that was there. Sir, ये सब कुछ हो रहा है, लेकिन अब मैं आता हूँ MSMEs के लिए, क्योंकि फाइनली इट हैज टू रिलेट टू अस. हम लोग ये बोल रहे हैं, अगर क्रिकेट की एनालॉजी करूं, कि ये पिच पे, ये ग्राउंड पे 200 का एवरेज रन बनता है, which is generally economy will grow at, let's say, inflation of 4%, GDP growth of 7%. तो 10-11% से आपकी कंपनी ग्रो होगी. कोई 12-13-14 कर लेगा, कोई 7-8-9 कर लेगा. ये मोटा मोटा हिसाब है. अब हम लोग बोल रहे हैं कि we want to grow at 10x in 10 years. तो do you think ये सपना भी देखना चाहिए कि नहीं हो सकता? First and foremost.
Obviously, it is doable, absolutely doable. But I think
6% CAGR and 10-12%.
it was there actually sometimes back. If you see few years back, actually Indian industries grew at that rate. See, what we see in the GDP growth is it is combining the entire economy, where agriculture is a major thing. In agriculture, you can never achieve a very high growth rate. Impossible hai. Because your land is constant, it is fixed. Not that you can invent some kind of a hybrid kind of a variety of wheat or something where it will be double, triple kind of a production. Itna easy nahi hota hai. So therefore, in agriculture, the growth will always be low. The growth has to come from industry. And if you see the industry, I thought I'll be able to cover, but there are 30 lakh registered companies in India. Actually, 20 lakhs are actually active. This is from the MCA database, registered. These are all registered companies. 30 lakh is a huge number. There are countries like Qatar is having a population less than 30 lakhs. And here the number of companies is this much. And then there are, out of this, the number wise if you see, then the partnership firms are actually 1 lakh. Private limited companies are 24 lakhs out of this 30 lakhs. So, and
लगता है ये possible है.
Possible है इसलिए,
We can aspire.
not only possible है, ये होना चाहिए for the simple reason, क्योंकि these companies only actually give employment.
Right. Okay.
Okay, so therefore the country, if it has to be equitable GDP growth. It's not that only few families or few large houses will only grow, and there will few people will get employment, and the wealth will not be distributed. That will not be a financially stable kind of a situation.
So 26% growth possible, 26% compounded growth possible over the next 10 years.
And it will be the MSME sector which has to do it, because MSME sector is the maximum employment provider. The growth is coming from MSME only, majorly.
If that
It
is
has
so,
to come.
If that is so, what are the things which we should look at? Like आप टॉप डाउन देखते, एक छोटा बिजनेसमैन ने अपने बैलेंस शीट में अपने बिजनेस में क्या देखना चाहिए?
So basically all those guards I have talked about. I was not there in the, I never worked in the corporate sector personally.
What would RBI look at?
RBI look at several things. As I told you, when we look at a bank's book, we look where it has lent and what kind of the governance they are doing, what kind of scrutiny they are doing. Again, the solvency, liquidity, all these ratios for the corporates have to be looked at before. If they are doing it, then it is fine, because we cannot allow the bank's health to go down also. So prudent lending is what we are. At the same time, the other side is the improvement in the payment system. India is one of the best country as far as the payment system is concerned. The way it has done, the UPI has actually totally revolutionized. All of us will agree, because this is one product which all of us are using. Small payments, UPI is being used. Similar thing they are trying to now replicate. RBI is trying to push for lending also. So what they have talked about is the ULI, Unified Lending Interface, where using the UPI is one, the other, the Jan Dhan Yojana, and then Jam Trinity they talked about, and mobile and Aadhaar. This was the thing for the Jam Trinity for UPI. Similarly, UPI and other two will come in case of ULI.
Unified lending.
Unified lending. So the way UPI easily makes payment possible, the lending also should be done that way.
Yeah, but
And another pain point was identified as the bill payments. So MSME and all, they are also facing this kind of problem, that the bills, they are not able to quickly get paid. So trades,
बोलने वाला था,
trades,
surviving delayed
So-
payments. Surviving delayed payments.
So-
So हमारी फाइनेंशियल स्टेबिलिटी तो यही हिल जाती है कि बड़े कस्टमर ने पैसा टाइम पे नहीं दिया.
हाँ, तो ट्रेड्स का जो प्लेटफॉर्म है, so that is actually getting improved. I think trades is growing very fast.
तो ट्रेड्स का प्लेटफॉर्म पे सर डिस्काउंटिंग होता नहीं है. आप बैंक
हाँ, I mean
होता है कोई
I mean, so I am not getting a clear vote for yes, it is being done, and also not getting a complete denial कि नहीं होता है.
बायर का जो ट्रेड के साथ में कम्युनिकेशन है,
हाँ.
वो कम्युनिकेशन
तो उसको इम्प्रूव करना है ट्रेड्स का जो है बट ट्रेड्स इज अ वे टू गो दैट आई थिंक एवरीबॉडी विल एग्री दैट इट्स बिल डिस्काउंटिंग सिस्टम में ट्रेड्स का
they are very aggressive in bringing you in their platform, but they are not aggressive in helping you out to get the payments from the PSUs.
The response both come.
Very slow.
एक्चुअली जो बिल डिस्काउंटिंग जो करते हैं दोज प्लेयर्स ऑल्सो दे हैव टू क्विकली दे शुड परचेज दोज बिल्स एंड
We want
ट्रेड्स
resolution
का
on that as a user.
हाँ
We definitely want resolution on that.
सर इनफैक्ट इंडिविजुअल पार्टी से एक एस्पेक्ट है इवन पीएससीज आर नॉट पेइंग द बिल्स
For 4 months.
4 to 5 months पीएससीज पेमेंट नहीं कर रही है बाकी इंडिविजुअल से तो हम क्या ही यानी कभी एक्सपेक्ट कर रहे हैं
It is more from the government side, the more regulations have to come. Even IBC, etc., were also done by the government. These are, but again, IBC also will have to be further attuned and made much better. It's not a satisfactory situation still. It's a work in progress. But these are some of the things that can address these issues, and we have to go forward to that.
So, if based on your feedback, he has agreed to listen to the feedback. If there are any specific things, please share that with us. We will collate that and send over to RBI. That has been agreed that sir जब आए तो हम लोग will make the most out of it. तो specific trades में आपको क्या परेशानी आ रही है and what can change to make it better is what something they are willing to listen to. उसके पहले आप Is anybody hungry? या अपन 5-7 मिनट और बात कर सकते हैं?
Yes, continue. Go ahead.
I would want to maximize the presence of Anujit sir. So, एक हुआ delayed payment की बात हुई. Financial stability अपने business में है तो interest rate hike survive करने का chance होना चाहिए. Sir, how do you take care of the interest rate thing? मतलब आज एक बोरोवर को इंटरेस्ट रेट क्या लगना चाहिए कि आरबीआई ऊपर से कैसे डिसाइड करता है मतलब व्हाट डज इट डू एंड
No, हाँ.
हाउ डू आई रिलेट टू दैट व्हेन या मुझे एडवांस वार्निंग सिग्नल आप बताइए कि मेरा इंटरेस्ट रेट बढ़ने वाला है तो मैं क्या ध्यान रखूं आप कैसे देखते हैं
So the policy rate, what RBI works on, RBI obviously cannot go into that micro level, that what the lender, that's between lender and borrower, because he has to judge the see in any interest rate there are 3 parts. One is the base rate. Over that there is a term premium and also there is a risk premium. So all these are added up. So that risk premium part is completely it's on the hand of the lender. He has to evaluate the risk, how much risk it is there, and also he has to take care of what is his exposure to certain sectors. Suppose he has got a huge exposure in one particular sector. He may not be readily take further risk in that same sector. He may not expand his loan book in that sector. These kind of considerations are there. But what RBI does is RBI is playing only on one thing. That is a policy rate, which is also the repo rate. So it's an overnight market rate. So, but if you see one yield curve, that I don't know whether many of you may not be that much familiar. It's a term structure rate. So the lowest part is the overnight, then there are suppose 7 days, then 10 days, like that it goes on, and at the end there are 10 years is a important benchmark, then it can go up to 30 years, 40 years like. So this is the yield curve, but RBI plays only in the overnight. It expects that if it increases the rate, then entire yield curve should move up. It never happens that way. And then what it can do further is it does what is called OMO. It purchases the government purchases or sales. It's open market operation from the market. Now when suppose it purchases or sells in a particular 20-year bond, then if it purchases more bonds, then the yield in that particular yield means the return. It will go up because the supply of that 20-year bond will go down. So therefore the interest rate will go up. So then the yield curve will steepen. So this kind of play is there for RBI. It is continuously being done. So that's how, but then it is, what I am talking about is the sovereign government bond basically. Over that there will be again risk premium and all. So basically for the economy, the interest rate, we are tinkering with this. Now why one should increase or decrease is because if it feels that the GDP is growing at a faster rate than the capacity it is, so it's called overheating of the economy. So if there is a overheating, then it has to reduce that growth. Otherwise, if your car is ready to run at 200 kilometers per hour, your road can support only 100 kilometers, there will be accidents. So therefore, whatever is the capacity of the economy, your growth rate cannot exceed that. Now, to increase the capacity, you have to make a better road. So that cannot be done by RBI, it is the government, because there are several things. Even actual physical roads, if they're built better, the businesses are actually helped. Today it is integrated, national highways actually helped in moving things faster. So maybe today you are sourcing your raw materials from a place which earlier you have not thought about because the cost was much more, the logistics and all. So those kind of things will helps. So that's how the economic capacity also increases.
But it increase the capacity in the economy.
Capacity comes there increase.
Speed bola. Speed hai.
Speed means I have given a analogy, but it is naturally there are several things that and finally it is the technology change which makes the growth rate faster. New kind of technologies, new kind of efficiency in the system, those kind of things actually helps in increasing the capacity of the economy also.
MSMEs के लिए अगर efficiency drive करें, तो they can grow the capacity.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. एक सवाल मेरे मन में हमेशा आता है कि world wide 2020 लॉकडाउन में it was acceptable and everybody was saying कि more पैसा छापो और बांट डालो, सब प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व हो जाएंगे. RBI did not do that. तो वो उस समय what was the thing? So that I am relating to that, so that in our lifetimes, if we find any other problem, then how is RBI thinking? वो हमको समझेगा. इसलिए मैं ये सवाल पूछ रहा हूँ सर.
So in very simple terms, it is like this: that if you see the RBI balance sheet, so in RBI balance, the RBI's liability is actually in your pocket. All the currency notes, they are promissory notes kind of thing. It promised by the governor that he will repay. So therefore, it's a liability for him. Means the RBI. So all the currency notes, etc., are actually the money that is put in the economy is coming in the liability side. But there has to be a matching asset also. What are those assets? Now those assets are actually government securities that is held by RBI, gold, then forex. These are the major mota, these are the reserves. So if it has to push more money into it, how it will do it? I talked about the open market operation. So when RBI sells either the dollar, suppose dollar is going 90, now it is nearing 100, right? The 90. So people are saying it will go to 100. Suppose in over a next 3-4 days you find that it is going 91, 92, 93. What do you think RBI will do? RBI will start selling dollar in the market. Why? Not to stop dollar from appreciating that way, but then we feel that it is that kind of a fast thing is not justifiable. So the excess volatility will be curbed by selling dollar. Now when dollar is sold in the market, rupee comes out of the market. So that means the money supply will go down. Similarly, if you have to push money into the system, it can purchase government bonds, then more money comes into the system. And nowadays, if you are following the monetary policy, governor is telling that the surplus liquidity, he is stressing on that there is always a sustainable surplus liquidity given in the banking system. So if banks are having liquidity, they are able to lend. So that is the idea. If you see the deposit growth and credit growth, for last several months, the deposit growth is much lower than credit growth. But still banks are able to lend. Normal तो नहीं होना चाहिए, deposit नहीं मिल रहा है तो उसमें से कैसे bank lend कर रहा है? So all these things are, adjustments are going on. So money supply is being handled like that. And absolutely there is no case where RBI can print and put money, but the credit actually goes to the government. Because if government, I talked about the fiscal deficit. So if government opens up a huge deficit, the demand was that in COVID time, that you should lose your purse string, you should run a huge deficit. Now running deficit means what? Where the government will spend more. From where the government will get money? Then it has to borrow. Now when it borrows, it will try to borrow from where? From the financial system. Banks, etc. will purchase the government bonds. But banks will also put their hand up, we do not have money to purchase, then what? Ultimately it lands into Reserve Bank's book. And I told that the government security is an asset for me. So if there are a lot of government security comes into my balance sheet, there will be a compensatory liability created. And those liabilities will be money supply. So that way, if government wants, it can, RBI will not deny, though there is a good understanding between government and RBI. And, but if they run a huge fiscal deficit, that will actually create more money into the system. So RBI is also having some way wherewithal, but the policy comes from the government only.
मुझे ऐसा लग रहा है कि ये जो इकोनॉमी रन होती है ये एक इंजन की तरह है और इसमें ना कभी आप ज़्यादा पेट्रोल डालते हैं कभी कम पेट्रोल डालते हैं कुछ ज़्यादा हो गया तो कुछ निकाल लेते हैं तो ये पैसा कभी डालते हैं पैसा कभी निकाल लेते हैं कभी डॉलर डालते हैं रुपया निकालते हैं कभी रुपया डालते हैं सिक्योरिटीज निकालते हैं तो ये
ट्यूनिंग फाइन ट्यूनिंग कंटिन्यूअसली
कंटिन्यूअस फाइन ट्यूनिंग आप लोग कभी सोते भी हैं क्या क्योंकि हमें लगता था कि हम ही रात भर जागते हैं आज एमएसएमई ओनर्स कल धंधा कैसे होगा ये होगा व्हाट कीप्स यू अवेक एज अ पॉलिसी मेकर what are the things which keep you awake currently?
Currently means it is the mandate is the inflation. We are obsessed with inflation because that is the single most important thing for personally for me also, and generally RBI is concerned with the inflation. Next comes the rupee dollar because these are the remit of RBI. It has to look into these things.
RBI दो चीज डेली देख रहा है इन्फ्लेशन का रेट और currency. ये दो से
currency and then the yield curve is the other thing because ultimately it impacts the economy. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. तीन चीज एक सवाल है प्रसाद.
सर मैं पूछना चाहता हूँ एज अ एमएसएमई हमको चाहिए रहता है लो रेट पे इंटरेस्ट बट एट द सेम टाइम गवर्नमेंट बैंकर्स घर के लिए 6% पे लोन दे रही है व्हीकल के लिए 8% पे दे रही है हमको 12 या 13% देना पड़ रहा है और जहां एमएसएमई के ऊपर इतनी बड़ी इकोनॉमी अगर डिपेंडेंट है और इतना वैल्यू देना चाहती है तो फिर हमारे लिए रेट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट कम क्यों नहीं होता है?
So again, as I told you, it is not directly in the remit of RBI to decide on either any of these loans, be it housing loan, be it auto loan, be it loan to industries, sectors. We do not give any diktat because it is given to the market. It is market determined kind of a thing. It is not dictated. Earlier, RBI used to prescribe rates, deposit rates also, FD rate. You go across banks, the savings bank rate. At one point of time when I joined in Reserve Bank, I never thought that deposit rate, savings bank rate can be different in banks. अभी कोई बैंक 7.5% दे रहा है कभी 2.5 दे रहा है कभी 2% दे रहा है तो दिस वर ऑल डिरेगुलेटेड.
उसका सवाल बहुत वैलिड है.
व्हाई एमएसएमई रेट्स आर हायर?
आप रिस्क वेट्स तो कम ज्यादा कर सकते हैं तो आपने एमएसएमई का रिस्क वेट ज्यादा करके रखा होगा इसीलिए बैंक
नहीं ऐसा नहीं है. एमएसएमई रेट्स का रिस्क वेट तो ज़्यादा नहीं है. रिस्क वेट वहाँ पे स्पेसिफिक कुछ इसके लिए जैसे हाउसिंग लोन का स्पेसिफिक है रिस्क वेट बट एमएसएमई ये ऐसा कुछ नहीं है जो क्रेडिट रेटिंग के हिसाब से रिस्क वेट होता है. बट देन अगेन क्रेडिट रेटिंग मॉडल्स आर लेफ्ट टू द बैंक्स सो दे आर ओनली रेटिंग एंड इफ दे फाइंड दैट सर्टेन काइंड ऑफ इन देयर पोर्टफोलियो इफ दे आर हैविंग their loan book whatever is the loans they are having. I think the RBI's role could be in smoothing the credit flow infrastructure in the sense that ये जो रेटिंग मॉडल्स वगैरह है उसको हम बोल सकते हैं कि यू मेक इट मोर रिस्पॉन्सिव टू द क्रेडिट रिस्क. दोज काइंड ऑफ मैक्रो ऊपर से कर सकते हैं लेकिन directly dealing with the rates will be difficult. And why, coming back to his question, that why housing loan rates are lower than, ये अभी चल रहा है ये सब, ये हाउसिंग का फिर से इशू चल रहा है, because I think the housing growth is also not as per what the economy needs, because more people, more money has to go into housing, because if the money goes into housing area, then what will happen, there are ancillary industries, be it steel, cement, this, that, so
Subject of secured and unsecured loan.
secured and unsecured loan, right.
Unsecured loan, then
That is another, that's a major thing actually, that you have got a tangible asset there. Asset is there, which is the collateral, house is there. And in case of car also, bankers at times they can take away the car also if the loan is not repaid. In case of businesses, at times, particularly if it is a services, of course, services industries में loan का इतना जरूरत नहीं होता है जितना manufacturing में होता है. But important thing is the process should be faster. If you are a MSME and you got a order from somebody, you may require for a short span, you require a loan so that you can deliver that order. So quickly, if the sanctioning process, etc., can be improved, weekend, and that's why I talked about the ULI. So ULI is very important. Yeah.
One question from here.
Sir, with the increasing exotic source of funding in MSME, like FDI and private equities or SME IPOs, and along with prolonged liquidity support by RBI, so this increases the risk of zombie balance sheets. So how is RBI seeing to that, and how RBI tends to protect to that? And is RBI seeing the sign of zombie balance sheets in Indian economy now?
So you are actually getting into the topic of this, the financial stability side. What I talked about, the balance sheets are typically, that is the problem that we look into. So, but how do we do
How
that?
are we currently placed now? I mean, how is that problem cropping up in our economy, particularly in MSME?
So I wanted to cover this. So if you look at this chart, this is the, I'm not able to read here. Decreasing leverage and sizable cash buffers in corporate sector. This is the corporate sector position as per our financial stability, latest financial stability report. If you see, the debt service ratio is very comfortable. Okay, and then the cash buffers are also up. It's 28.9. It's quite at a high level. And fixed asset ratio of growth and leverage. Leverage also is coming down. So at this point of time, we are in the best, what is described as the Goldilocks. So why it is Goldilocks is because the corporate sector is actually very strong. Corporate sector balance sheets, as per our understanding, is very strong. Interest rate, inflation rate is low, and growth rate is also going up. And that's why I said that it is possible. We have got the best opportunity now. This happens rarely actually. It's today's world.
Corporate balance sheets पे बहुत leverage नहीं है.
Leverage उतना नहीं है.
बट MSMEs में ये जो फंडिंग आ रही है जिस तरह से,
नहीं, MSME
Overheating नहीं हो रहा है.
overheating नहीं है, नहीं.
कुछ are we seeing the signs of that?
No.
Not yet.
There is no such thing right now.
But you can rest assured.
Actually, what was flagged was the personal loan. Personal loan was growing faster. But then again, Governor explained in last monetary policy meeting, in personal loan also, as he was rightly pointing out, gold loans and this kind of loans where the collateral is, strong collateral is there, housing loan and all. Secured loans are actually going up. So we are not worried. Personal loan is also not, we are not worried about that also.
And so secondly, we are not seeing increase in per capita GDP towards the overall GDP growth. So are we risking towards a middle income economic trap like Brazil, Vietnam, Poland or Africa?
That is the major threat that I find, another major threat. That's why I have talked about we need to give more stress, but it is again for the government.
What is the risk
Again,
that you see falling into middle income trap?
It is in the hand of the government to push more for MSME growth, for the simple reason that it is employment generating, okay, and particularly in manufacturing. Government is doing it already. They are mentioning about it. They are talking about it. The manufacturing sector, we need to increase growth. We need to increase faster, so that the growth will be equitable, as you are flagging, and then also the chance of having sustainable growth will be much higher there. But having said that, we have to look at some of the threats that I could not elaborate upon. There are one thing I just want to keep this thought among you. You should protect yourself from the threat of cyber threat, because we are seeing a very high number of cases where the businesses are actually they are locked. All of a sudden, their desktops, etc., their system get frozen, and then they ask money in bitcoins, and unless you pay them, they will not open your business. It is happening. If it happens with a big business, it comes into the newspaper. But smaller businesses, when they do not talk in public also, because it will be a problem. It will be a run on their business, so they will not openly talk about it. But then you have to be among your group also. You discuss about this. Again, I am not an expert in this, but I can tell you this is going very sharply. It's going up. So cyber security is one thing. Many times in business, nobody thinks that much about the cyber threat and all. But this is going to happen. So at the country level also, because the warfare internationally, that is also changing. Instead of attacking a country directly, they can simply freeze the electricity grid or something. It is possible. So warfare nature is also changing. And for individual businesses, again, this is a easier thing. Like the digital arrest was easier to extract money. So similarly, this is another for the extract money from the business.
ये टॉपिक इतना बड़ा है, we can go on for the whole day. मुझे लगता है कि सर को स्पेशली full day program के लिए बुलाना पड़ेगा. But we'll take one last question because he has been waiting for a long time.
So speaking of part of country's growth, the overall sustainability of country's financial situation, and now we are into two different governments. I don't want to promote any government here, not the political questions, but I want to focus more on country's growth and stability, so that small investors can put their more money, their own money into the businesses, but and number two, the young generation, but they don't believe in country's growth more. The present situation is happening very fast compared to last couple of years back. So, being a part of RBI, how do you see that, how secure the financial things and the young generation's future in the country before 2014 and after 2014?
So our, again, as he started with very, very nicely, it is about the pitch that we think about from RBI side, that we can provide. But then whether this Rajvanshi should play or he will bring somebody else. So, and I think somebody told that if you are young...
Yeah, he cannot say anything more from that. I think we'll keep it at that. Okay, so Anujit sir has laid out, sir, no questions. आपको ही खाना खाना है. अच्छा ठीक. Okay, so जब पहले बार मुझे टॉपिक दिया गया ना, I thought financial stability is anti-growth. But I think on second thoughts, after listening to him, I think financial stability alone can ensure growth. Is the way I have changed my opinion. Financial stability for the MSME means कि business cycle fast हो जाए, interest rates ऊपर जाए तो मैं survive कर पाऊँ, मैं delayed payment 2 महीने की जगह 4 महीना हो जाए तो मैं survive कर पाऊँ. All of that means financial stability to an MSME. And he talked about leverage and cash buffers. अब हम लोग अपने MSME में cash buffer क्या maintain कर पा रहे हैं? कितना डिलेड पेमेंट होल्ड कर सकते हैं, कि हमारी बैलेंस शीट लीवरेज है कि नहीं लीवरेज है, एडिक्वेटली लीवरेज है कि नहीं, वो सब कुछ मतलब जो नेशनल लेवल पे देखा जा रहा है वो अपनी बैलेंस शीट में देखा जा सकता है. एंड देन वी कैन अप्लाई द सेम प्रिंसिपल्स which RBI applies to make sure that तो आपका अगर lending या आपका supply एक particular customer को बहुत ज़्यादा हो रहा है तो मे भी concentration risk बढ़ रहा है तो उसको थोड़ा देखिए कि उसको diversify कर पाए all of those things which he touched upon in इतना vast topic है कि सब कुछ touch ही हो पाया but today I think we have tried to understand how policymakers look at risk. What does financial stability mean for that? And how can individual business owners translate the learnings from RBI into practical tools for our own survival and growth? And I was sure that he is going to say 26% वगैरह कुछ नहीं होने वाला. And I felt so good because RBI is a very conservative player. Very, very conservative. And coming from RBI, if they say that 26% is possible, let's all go back with that happy, positive thought to charge yourself. कल जाके क्या काम करना है? तो 10 साल में we have to grow 10 times. On that note, I really thank Anujit sir. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Because I was very worried कि ये टॉपिक हम लोग बात भी कर पाएंगे क्या एंड यू पीपल हैव बीन रियली काइंड दैट यू लिसन टू दिस सेशन सर थैंक्स अ लॉट
Thank you.
एज अ टोकन ऑफ लव एंड अफेक्शन
Thanks a lot.
थैंक यू सर आपका नाम है
Oh, customized.
Okay.